All right, so you've sent us some information about this painting, John Martin's Pandemonium, and wow, this one seems pretty intense.
Yeah, it's definitely a powerful piece. I mean, even just the title, right? Pandemonium. It grabs you.
Yeah, no kidding. It's not exactly a walk in the park, is it? So, for our listeners who maybe haven't had a chance to see this painting, what are we even looking at here?
Okay. So Pandemonium, it's a pretty large oil painting, 123 by 185 centimeters, and Martin finished it in 1841.
Okay.
But here's something interesting. It's a fairly recent addition to the Louvre. They acquired it in
Oh,
2006.
wow. Really? Okay.
Yeah, and that in itself is kind of interesting,
Mm.
Makes you think about their thought process there. Why this painting? Why now? But we can maybe circle back to that a bit
Yeah,
later.
yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. So I think maybe we should unpack this title a little bit.
Yeah.
Pandemonium, right? It just
Yeah.
it brings to mind this sense of chaos, disorder. But where does that word even come from?
Well, it originates from John Milton's epic poem Paradise Lost.
Oh,
Yeah, and in Paradise Lost, Pandemonium is the capital of hell, a city built by fallen angels.
wow.
Mhm.
Okay, so this painting, it's directly inspired by Paradise Lost. That's amazing.
It is, and knowing that, I think it adds a whole other layer to how we look at it, how we understand it.
Totally. Totally. Okay. So tell me a little about John Martin then, the artist. Who was he? What else did he do?
Okay, so John Martin, he was an English artist, lived from 1789 to 1854, and he was really multi-talented, a painter, engraver, illustrator. But I think he's best known for these large-scale dramatic paintings, often inspired by the Bible, literature, that sort of thing.
It sounds like he was drawn to the epic.
Yeah, absolutely. He definitely was. Pandemonium, it's a great example of that. It's this vision of hell, right? But it's not just any vision. It's this chaotic, swirling, fiery, it's got this incredible energy and movement.
So we have this huge canvas, right? This inferno is raging in front of us. But what's actually going on in the painting? What did Martin actually, you know, depict?
Okay, so, well, imagine this, right? Imagine this fiery abyss. And there's this darkness, and it's swirling around these just gigantic, like monstrous buildings.
Wow.
And you have these figures, and they're just plummeting through the air, and they're just dwarfed by the sheer scale of it all. It's a vision of hell that yeah, it's terrifying, but at the same time, there's this strange beauty to it, and that's something you see a lot in Martin's work.
Yeah, there's this strange tension there, right,
Mm.
between terror and beauty. It's almost like he's saying there's this sense of awe, even in these really dark places.
Exactly. Yeah. And he does that through these really dramatic contrasts between light and shadow. And the way he uses lines, it creates this feeling of just overwhelming chaos and movement. Like you almost feel like you're getting pulled into it, Pulled
Yeah.
into this vortex.
Yeah, yeah. And it makes me think back to Milton's Paradise Lost, right?
Yeah.
Is this painting like a direct illustration of a scene from the poem?
It's not a scene for scene kind of thing, but it definitely captures that essence of pandemonium, the way Milton describes it.
Yeah.
It's like Martin's giving us his own visual interpretation, this idea of the seed of anarchy, the embodiment of hell's chaotic energy.
So he's almost translating like literature into this visual experience.
Exactly. Yeah, he's taken these words on a page and he's given them a physical form so that we can step into Milton's imagination, We can almost experience it firsthand. And that actually brings us to something really interesting about this painting.
Oh, what's that?
So, Pandemonium, it's not just about depicting hell literally, It's also a reflection of the anxieties and the fascinations of the time period when it was created, the Romantic era.
Oh, okay. The Romantic era, yeah.
Yeah.
They love their drama, right?
Yeah.
So how does Pandemonium fit into all of that?
So Romanticism was all about, emotion, imagination, the sublime power of nature, even the destructive aspects of it. And what's more sublime, what's more awe-inspiring and yeah, even terrifying than the idea of hell.
I mean, you're not going to find a more extreme landscape, right?
Exactly. So Pandemonium,
Yeah.
with this dramatic composition, the swirling chaos, this exploration of the darker side of humanity, it really fits in perfectly with those romantic sensibilities.
You mentioned I think it was at the beginning that the Louvre, they got Pandemonium pretty recently, in
Yeah.
2006.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm curious, why do you think they decided to add this particular painting to their collection? Because, it's not exactly like you walk by and it brightens your day, right?
Right. Yeah, no, it's definitely a bold choice, but I think that's part of what makes it so interesting, you know. I mean, the Louvre, they're famous for their collection of European art, right? But adding Pandemonium to that, it adds this whole other dimension. It's like they're reevaluating romantic art, you know,
Mm.
recognizing how powerful it is, how relevant it still is even today.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, hey, these big emotions, these explorations of like the darker parts of being human, they're still worth talking about.
Exactly. And you know, we can't forget about the themes that Martin's dealing with in Pandemonium, right? Chaos, destruction,
Huh.
the fall from grace. These aren't things that are, you know, stuck in the past. They're timeless. These anxieties, they speak to us even now. I mean, centuries after Milton wrote Paradise Lost.
It makes you wonder, with Pandemonium now in the Louvre, how is it going to shape how people see John Martin's work,
Yes.
or even the whole Romantic period?
That's what's so amazing about art, right? It starts a conversation. And that conversation, it doesn't end when the paint dries. It makes us think differently about
Yeah.
ourselves, about the world, about, you know, the dark and the light inside all of us.
Totally, totally. So I guess to wrap things up, we've taken a deep dive into Pandemonium, this painting that's, it's terrifying, but it's also beautiful. It's chaotic, but it kind of draws you in. It's pretty amazing. And it really shows us John Martin's, like, his vision, how he could take these complex ideas and turn them into something we can actually see and almost feel.
Yeah, and I think it reminds us that these themes, the struggle between good and evil, chaos, trying to find meaning when everything feels so disordered, it's not, you know, these aren't just things from the past. They're still shaping us. They're still part of who we are.
Definitely gives you a lot to think about, that's for sure. Maybe even inspire some of our listeners to, take their own deep dive into John Martin, into that whole world.